record at your end, that'll be great. I'm not recording. I'm counting on the on what we live stream. So we live now. So thank you everyone for presencing with us here in the Convergence Room, Chaos and Order, Deep Time Perspective, which is on behalf of Haseena, Patel and myself, Tex Albert in Quebec. Haseena is in South Africa. We've been co-stewarding this room on behalf of the Deep Time Network, and we're part of a collaborative of 4 organizations, Co-Creators Convergence, led by Noel Marshall and Bob Warner, and Mason Works Marketing, Kathy Mason, Humanity as Organism Thrives. That's been a collaboration between Haseena and Dr. Tom. So we're happy to be here. We're now in the final session. This is sense making and closing session. So at this point, I will call on Dr. Tom Acklin, who was with us in just the previous session, to lead us in a meditation, a presencing meditation. Tom?
Thank you, Tex. Welcome on this beautiful day of biodiversity, celebrating voices around the world. And I'd like to lead us into an exploration of the question emerging from the part of your body that you haven't attended to in a bit, and invite everybody to just intuitively place your non-dominant hand, the hand you don't write with, on your body somewhere, where you might be intuitively led to a space that's asking for some help. You might be intuitively led to a place that's asking for new language. You might be gravitating to your go-to, your strength. We just came out of a beautiful session talking about separation and the chaos and the torment. And it might be a little unorthodox to begin a centering meditation for the next 2 minutes with the words cataclysmic. But here we are in a place of beautiful change, upheaval. And at the same time, this invitation to intersection is our new coral reef. It is our new language for rainforest, for desert, for plateau, for all of the different ways the beehives buzz and the flowers pollen. Take a nice deep breath. Feel the discomfort of the posture. Feel the urge to move and the urge to change position. Honor that. Therein is the cosmogenic urge. There is the inherent craving of the unfolding of the universe. You are here as the point person, as the representative. You are here as the space. We are the indigenous. Let your attention go to the rest of the petri dish in which you find yourself today, the air, the breeze, the sounds, even the things that might feel uncomfortable. All is nourishing. And each interaction, each intersection has a suggestion for us today. We may not have words for it yet. Over the course of the next hour, possibly you'll find language for what those questions are. Each of us as indigenous claims our native tongue. Each of us finds our way to speak the thing that we didn't know we needed to say. So freedom to change positions. Come on back. if you'd like to come on camera, anybody who can come on camera and meet the eyes of the ones we are. Greetings, thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, John Raymer. I see you here. It's all going well. It's being custom streamed. Thank
Perfect.
you. Thank you. John Raymer is the wizard behind all the tech of World Unity Week.
I'm so happy it's working. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Grateful for it. All right. I'm going to be, if you need me, you know how to get me.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, John.
All right.
So, very good. Now, we'll be going into the next segment, which is with Marianne Rowe. She's going to present on relating to personal and global transformation through deep time perspective. Now, Marianne Rowe is a founding teacher of the Monterey Bay Meditation Studio, an emergent dialogue facilitator, and a licensed marriage and family therapist in Pacific Grove, California. Her teaching, therapeutic work, and leadership focus on healing, transformation, and evolution through awareness and relationship. Her passions include inspiring reverence and reciprocity with Earth and universe, spiritual activism, and conscious relationship with all beings. Now, I've put a link in the chat of World Unity Week of this room. If you go to that link, you'll be able to access all the bios and all the information about the different events. So welcome, Marianne.
Thank you so much, Tex, for that lovely introduction and for the invitation to participate, to make an offering in this sense-making session of the Deep Time Perspective Convergence Space. And thank you, Tom, for that beautiful presencing meditation. I just really appreciate the invitation to center and to become aware of all of which we are part. So, to begin with the obvious, we are living in a time of epochal transition, a time in which our lives, our cultures, our planet, and even climate is undergoing systemic change. To reference the previous session in the Deep Time Convergence Room, it is most certainly in our face a time of peril and possibility and promise. The petri dish, which Tom referenced in the meditation, for all unimagined emergence to occur. Zach Stein describes our current circumstances in this way. There is a coming transformation of human existence in all areas, in the economic, political, governmental, cultural, and personality systems. We don't know yet what will need to be created to stop us from all dying as the old system runs down. We're in a period of chaos. The old forms of order no longer hold. The new forms of order have not yet emerged. We're at a moment when we can think about design parameters, about systems that would allow for emergence of new forms of order, a reworlding, if you will. That's why it feels like such a potent time, both dangerous and exciting. So I invite you to just pause for a moment and sit in the realization where we are situated. This extremely potent time. So today, I bring an offering of perspective, a way of being in relationship with this historic moment of cataclysm and creativity, a way of being that supports and cultivates an expanded and evolutionary view of what is happening. Jim Bindell, founder of the Deep Adaptation Perspective, writes, "Whatever you choose to do, I hope you give yourself time and space to listen for the psycho-spiritual invitation of our predicament, to reconcile yourself with impermanence, uncontrollability, and death, while letting yourself awaken from the deepest illusions of our culture, to act with passion for your truth and goal, while maintaining some equanimity about the outcome." So, deep time perspective is a context. It's a story that is big enough to hold the totality of all that we hold up close and personal. And it's an invitation to go beyond the obvious material structuring into a relational structuring, a structuring of belonging, a simultaneous awareness of the connection that arises in being impacted and in impacting. Deep time perspective is a combination of the knowledge gained from modern science and the wisdom gained in ancient spiritual teachings. It encompasses all people and all cultures because all are considered equally essential parts of the whole. There's no thing or no one that is outside universe. Deep time perspective is a pathway to the eye of the hurricane. And it's all about relationship. Our connection with universe and all its powers, patterns, and processes begins at an elemental level. We are part of and participants in this vast system of infinite potential. We are literally embedded in it. So I invite you to, for a moment, just let your imagination call into your consciousness nesting dolls, those dolls that go one into another. And imagine this is a set of nesting dolls in the shape of eggs. And on the smallest eggs, there is an image of human beings. And this egg is embedded in a little bit larger egg that is on which there's an image of the ecosystems and the living beings of the planet Earth. And then that egg is embedded in an egg with an image of this beautiful blue marble that we call Earth, that we call home. And that egg is embedded in an image of a solar system, these 9 planets, 5 of which have been aligned during this past week, right before dawn in the Northern Hemisphere, and orbiting, drawn by allurement to the star that we call the sun. And then this solar system egg is embedded in an egg of the Milky Way galaxy that is embedded in an egg of a vast and ever-evolving universe. All of these layers and layers join together, affecting each other and being affected. So on Wednesday, Sarmeet Kanwal told us the beginning of this story of how all of this came to be in his presentation, What Happened Before the Big Bang. So taking it up where Sarmeet left off, just going to take you on a little imaginary journey. So 13.8 billion years ago, there emerged from a tiny dot, a singularity, an expansion that contained the potentiality of all matter. And for the next few billion years, there was all kinds of chaos, gas and particles finding their way to a new order that included planets, stars, asteroids, and various objects floating in space and bumping into each other. Now, one of these objects, along with 8 other planets, was lured into an orbit of a particular star that we know as Sun. And this planet became known in English as Gaia, or Earth. The planet Earth went through some major changes that include morphing from molten lava to steam, to land, to water, ice. And life began to form. Between 5 and 7 million years ago, human beings emerged on the scene. So let's put all this together and sense into this matrix, this interbeing that started out from that tiny expansion into the vastness of the universe, this matrix in all its Bolonic glory. So you see, we are part of the universe. We are of this dynamic field of disintegration and reintegration, an endless adaptive system of interrelationship, an infinite dance of chaos and order, evolving as self-contained entities and part of a larger whole. So as you consider these facts, keep in mind that nothing new was added from the outside, because there is no outside the dynamic system known as universe. Everything emerged from the same source of hydrogen and helium that emerged from the great flaring forth, also known as the Big Bang. All is in each part, and each part is in all. I invite you to just sit with that koan for a moment. All is in each part, and each part is in all. It rearranges my molecules every time I do that. Ooh. So I offer you an inquiry for consideration. What happens if we hold a sense of identity that is beyond being part of humanity, even beyond being part of Earth? What happens if we hold a sense of identity to being part of universe? What if we acknowledge that we and everybody and all else are integral and functioning parts of everything that is, has been, and is becoming? When we're aware of this big picture, this really big picture, how does that change our idea of ourselves? Just sitting here, imagining this, considering this possibility. How does that feel in your body, in your heart, in your mind in its largest sense? How does that change our idea of each other? Just as you look at these other manifestations of universe that are here on the screen. When we're aware of the really big picture, how does that change our relationship to what is happening? But wait, there's more. How does that change how we show up? How we show up in our relationships, with other human beings, in our relationships with bugs, in our relationship with the stars. It's all our kin, all kin. How does that change how we show up at home, when we're at work, when we're walking through town, seeing people and other beings that we don't know. But yet they're our kin. How does that change how we show up in our lives? From this point forward, how does that change? So each of these evolutionary events and this dynamic system, this coming to be where we are right now, right here in this moment, involved cataclysm, an unimaginable destruction of existing structures and life forms. And from this, a new life form was new life forms were created and evolved and emerged. It was from the extinction of dinosaurs that warm-blooded mammalian species arose. So this process continues in this moment as stars explode in supernovas and disperse gas and minerals into space, which form new galaxies, new solar systems, and new planets. Thank you, Steve, for teaching me that. This process continues in this moment as Earth is involved in a global transformation of structures that are collapsing, species are disappearing, and atmospheric currents are changing. We are part of an infinitely evolving system of infinite potential. Brian Swim writes, "We're everywhere. We've become powerful. We are the planetary dynamic at this large scale level. So can we wake up to this fact and then reinvent ourselves at a level of knowledge and wisdom that is required?" That's the nature of our moment. Our power has gotten ahead of us, has gotten ahead of our consciousness. This is a challenge we've never faced before, to relearn to be human in a way that is actually enhancing to these other creatures. Can we find the resources to take this in and move with it? It's a challenge for the imagination. So with an inhalation, bring your energy and your attention back into your body. Again, noticing what it's like to be in your body right now. To begin to recognize yourself as an elemental part of this story that began billions of years ago. Recognizing and reconnecting with the energy of this planet of which we are part. Sensing yourself as being inside of the physical space of your home, office, or outdoors, wherever you are. Let yourself, once again, your eyes are closed, gently open your eyes, keeping your gaze soft, and reconnect with these other manifestations of the universe that are here on this call. Looking through the screen as if you're looking through a window. We are not virtual. We are connected energetically. We're here together. We're here together in a collective field that is co-creating through the quality of our presence and in our engagement. So, earlier, I described deep time perspective as a pathway to the eye of the hurricane. I invite you to consider the principles of deep time perspective and notice what happens in your body, in your heart, and in your imagination. Principle 1, context. We are an integral part of a fast evolving universe. Principle 2, matrix. Universe is a relational system in which every aspect is influenced and influencing every other aspect. Principle 3, transformation, my favorite. We have the capacity to become conscious of our larger identification, and through science, meditation, and intersubjective practices, not to mention current circumstances, we are becoming conscious of living in a realm of interbeing. In Principle 4. With this consciousness, we are beginning to recognize our agency and our responsibility that we are creating the future. When we are aware that we are already collaborating, then we can make a conscious choice to collaborate in service of supporting life in all its forms rather than destroying it. So in a few minutes, Steve Martin is going to lead us in an exploration of the type of leadership that is being called forth in this act of emergence. So I'd like to close with a reading from Terry Tempest Williams. I invite you to close and just let these words wash through in all of you. We are Earth unraveling and reforming creation. We are meant to engage, not isolate. These are difficult days. What causes us to recoil, strike, and retreat is also what allows us to reach out from the anxiety of unknowing and dare to trust what is to come. A reassembling of our humanity. Thank you.
Wonderful, Marianne. I like that you use the word equanimity, because to keep our calm, to keep our cool, and to pull in the resources, be aware and apply ourselves consciously. So there is hope. Thank you very much. I will pass it on directly to Haseena to introduce Steve, and we'll see if at the end we can interact a little with you. Okay, so thank you very much, Marianne.
Well, it is my privilege to introduce Steve Martin. For those of you who don't know him, I will just tell you a bit about Steve. Steve is an astronomer, educator, and author who has taught astronomy, physics, and consciousness studies at colleges, universities, and learning centers across the US for over 25 years. He's currently director of the Deeptime Leadership Program at the Deeptime Network and adjunct faculty in the Consciousness and Transformative Studies Program at John F. Kennedy University. Steve frequently offers experiential workshops on stargazing, astronomy, and personal transformation at observatories, learning centers, and other popular venues around the world. And of course, I took the Deeptime Leadership course, and it has been such a privilege to have Steve as my teacher. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you so much, Haseena. And thank you so much, Marianne, for bringing that universal perspective, to the personal level, because it's a personal and a universal transformational process that is being called for here. And I learned something new about the universe through your meditation, so I'm grateful for that. And I'll just share a little bit about that as the introduction. I was aware of my little toe as a leading edge of the universe. At the same time, my feelings about my little toe as a leading edge of the universe, as well as what I was seeing through my eyes as the leading edge of the universe. And so it's really calling forward to me a new kind of leadership that's emerging in our global situation at this time. Because if you ask the question, well, where is the leadership emerging from your body? Well, it's emerging from your little toe, and it's emerging from your eyes, and it's emerging from your feelings. It's all the emergent process of the universe expressing itself in the particular. And it's in this particular, that particular, the us particular, all of it is the universal expressing itself. And so at the Deeptime Network, which is a global network of people from all walks of life, we have scholars, we have academics, we have creatives. There's something like 15,000 members. And we all ask the question, can we draw on this larger cosmic context as a source of wisdom, inspiration, and guidance for our lives and the lives of the Earth community at this time? And so we enacted this Deeptime leadership program 9 months ago, and many people who are present in this room were a part of it. And I'm so grateful for it. I just want to show you, I'll share my screen here just briefly, where people came from. We had 108 participants from 13 countries around the world, and it truly was a global program. It's for 9 months. And so when I see this map, it's like, where's the leadership coming from right now? Well, it's coming from Germany, it's coming from Africa, it's coming from North America, it's coming from Australia. The Earth is expressing leadership in all these different places in this unique expression that we're calling the Deeptime Leadership Program. And the question we asked in this program at the beginning is, can there be a new form of leadership that aligns itself with the organizing principles of the universe? How do we draw our inspiration, empowerment, and guidance from this 13.8 billion year wisdom tradition that we call the universe, so that our actions are of benefit to the whole? So just to kind of give you an overview, here's kind of the 13.8 billion year textbook diagram of where things came from, right? Beginning from particles, through stars, through galaxies, through planets, through chemistry, through biology, to this conversation. But we're part of this lineage, this wisdom stream. And this wisdom stream very much embodies both the dynamics of chaos and order. Right? This is a nice, clean textbook diagram, but it was nothing like this. It was a raucous adventure where there was chaos and breakdowns, and there was ordering and buildups, and there was creativity, and there was emergence, and there was leadership happening at every stage of this process. So we're involved in a self-leading process called the universe that is guiding us in every moment. And so we took this seriously as the foundation for our course, and we drew this forward through 3 different aspects. Right? So the first are visions of a bigger future, a better future, a universal perspective. We had very inspiring speakers from around the world, from various fields, that really activated our minds and our imaginations with the possibilities. And then importantly, we had practices. We had relational practices so that we could develop new forms of relating to each other, relating to the Earth community, relating to cosmic sources of inspiration. And so we had people leading new forms of deep time meditation, right? Carol offered this beautiful meditation in the beginning on peril and promise. That was one of the offerings. We had chanting, we had movement, we had dance, practices to enact this cosmic perspective in a personal expression. And then we had the community within which these visions and practices were taking root. And by community, I mean the community of the participants, but also the community of the ecosystems that were coming together through participants and our interactions, and the larger cosmic context and community that we were enacting with this time. So it was really both a global program that has a cosmic perspective that's expressing itself in very personally concrete, grounded ways. And I'll say a little bit more about that in just a little bit. But as Marianne reflected on, there are 4 deep time principles or dynamics that we explored in this program. There was context, which is the large scale structure of things. There was matrix, which is our embeddedness in relationality. There's subjectivity, the recognition that every place, person, and being in the universe is a unique subject for the universe's expression. And there's action. What does cosmically inspired action look like on the ground in our lives and communities? So I'll just touch on those very briefly, and that will give us room for discussion later on. So the context we begin with is both a larger universal framework, the 13.8 billion year lineage that we're a part of, the trillion galaxies that surround us, that we are part of. And when we look at the galaxy that we're part of, and I'm an astronomer, so of course I love these space images, and this is an image of a galaxy very much like the Milky Way. And when you look at an image like this, something clearly exciting is happening. Stars are being born, clouds are colliding, black holes are forming. But we live in a galaxy that is literally on fire with self-emergence and creativity. So we take this as our framework, right? We are born out of a galaxy, a reality that is self-nourishing, self-organizing, fundamentally creative, dynamic learning system. And so when we remember that this is the context, both of our galactic environment, but also of our personal lives in every moment, every situation we're involved in is an expression of a self-organizing, creative, dynamic process that is generative. If we could remember that, then the potential of every situation to express something new can itself be a form of leadership that we can pay attention to. And Marianne talked about the transformative process, right? We live in a cosmos that is based on transformation. It's not a collection of things. It's not objects. What we experience when we encounter the world are processes that have a 13.8 billion year lineage. And we had cosmologist Brian Swim come and talk to us, and he gave us the example of rocks, right? Rocks are places where cosmic energy is swirling with cosmic potencies and possibilities. Remember, the Earth itself was liquid rock. It was lava 4 billion years ago. And now it's having this conversation, and birds are flying, and the sun is shining, and the trees are waving. And so rocks have become all of this. And so it's a reminder that this cosmic potency, this cosmic potentiality is always present in every situation and every form. So when you look in the mirror, you see a form of cosmic expression that is still alive with potential. Who knows what we will become in another 4 billion years? So it's just a reminder that every situation is infused with cosmic potential, waiting to burst forth, and the many possibilities that are possible. So as leaders, as deep time leaders, we need to recognize that every entity in the universe is a cosmological being that's situated in this ocean of potency and possibility. So every situation is a cosmic situation that is giving birth to something new. And Marianne used the phrase from Brian Swim, which is cosmogenesis. We live in a cosmos that was born and that is giving birth to itself in a new way in every moment, in every situation. That changes everything for leadership. We don't lead from a plan, a blueprint. We lead from the situation, the aliveness itself, and the direction that it wants to go. It's self-organizing, it's creative, it's generative. When we remember that, our context for relating is very different. We also brought in the importance of relationality, right? We are an interdependent, interactive, interrelational matrix of expression that's been 13.8 billion years in the making. And so when we lean into relationality, lean into our relationships, both with each other and with the natural world, we find ourselves empowered in all kinds of new ways. And so as part of the program, we enacted many relational practices to support our relationality with each other and to unfold its potential for leadership. So we recognize not only the unique perspective of each being that we encounter, but also the space between us as a source of emergent guidance. Marianne graciously offered this practice of emergent dialogue. Can we relate with each other that pays attention to what's emerging through the interaction itself? Because remember, the space between us, this is the place where the universe gave birth to itself. This is a space of fervent quantum potential that is emerging, something new. So every interaction is a place where a new emergence is taking place. So we did a lot of relational practices, including deep time storytelling, where we tell the story of the universe, or at least a particular part of it, in our own way. And through this, we learn that we are part of the story and we're the ongoing expression of the story itself. And so is everything else. So is this conversation part of a larger story. And so we are a story within a story within a story, all creating the next scene altogether. And one of our guiding inspirations for this course is the work of Brian Swim, who's a cosmologist, but Thomas Berry, who was a Catholic theologian, but also a scholar of world religions. And his famous phrase is that the universe is a communion of subjects, not a collection of objects. So we really align with the indigenous traditions of the world where everything is alive. Everything has a unique perspective because it's a place where the cosmos is expressing itself. And so we are a place of subjectivity where the universe is expressing itself uniquely, but so is the oak tree outside. So is the person standing in front of you. So is the air between us. It's all part of the subjectivity of the cosmos. And so everything has its interior aspect, which we need to acknowledge as part of our conversation, as well as what we seem to see as an exterior aspect. So we're in a matrix of sacred relationality with each other and with the whole. And so the whole Earth community and its perspectives must be informing our leadership. And to bring this perspective home, we invited Cherokee elder Yona Frenchhawk, who reminded us that we must learn leadership from nature, right? Because nature is where everything comes from. Nature is what is guiding everything. Nature is what sustains everything. And can we look to nature? Can we listen to nature? Can we listen to the silence that's behind nature as a source of inspiration, as a source of guidance, as the prompt for our leadership? And if that's true, then of course things are going to unfold in a good way because nature knows the way forward. So we brought that into our conversations as well, listening to nature and asking nature for her guidance. And then we asked the question, well, what is aligned to action in this new paradigm of cosmically informed Earth sensitive leadership? We had Thomas Berry scholar Herman Green come share with us. And I won't go through all these details, but he suggested we might ask questions such as, when making a decision, does it lead to an Earth-centered human presence on the planet? Does it lead us towards greater intimacy and communion with ourselves, others in the Earth community? Because this is what the Earth is wanting, this interrelatedness, this greater intimacy with itself. And does it celebrate the universe as a form of a new form of conscious awareness? And I won't read the whole quote at the bottom from Thomas Berry, but I love where he's saying that perhaps the future is more a sense of celebration, of participation in a symphony, or as a renewed presence in a vast cosmic liturgy, right? A sacred dimension of being together, celebrating our existence. And so I love that these wisdom traditions are coming together in this new form of leadership. And then we have many examples of how it's reinventing real life organizations around the world. This new cosmology, this deep time leadership is reinventing new ways of religious formation. There are earth-centered Catholic monasteries springing up. This is one in Vermont. This is being infused in schools. The Montessori and other traditions have really brought in the universal perspective as the guiding framework for teaching children, right? Teaching children that they're a part of the whole, that they're expression of the whole, that they are the universe in their own unique particular form. What a different paradigm to begin with for education. We also address the very difficult questions around social justice, right? Where we recognize that we are part of a universe that selects for difference, right? It chooses difference. It wants diversity. And so social justice, ecological justice, and cosmology are all interrelated, right? Because if everyone to everything is the unique expression of this 13.8 billion year journey of the universe, then that naturally guides us towards actions which are in line with social justice, with ecological justice, with all forms of justice and diversity. So we recognize the very challenging ways of applying this in our current culture, but also the ways that this is actually moving forward. We also had examples from around the world, such as this ecological center called Paramitra in India, where they literally built an organization on deep time ecological principles brick by brick over 30 years, from a rice field to an India-spanning organization with over 2 million members. And so we showed examples of how this is really taking place on the ground around the world in very, very inspiring and concrete ways. And then the most important practice, or one of the most important practices, was activating each person in the training's allurement. Right? What is their heart's desire? What is being called forth from them by the universe in terms of their contribution? And then as part of the process for the program to begin to nurture that, to begin to listen to that, to begin to express that. And so we ask people to take their allurements and express them in the form of some offering to the community. I use the word project, but it's more than that. It's how you bring your allurement into the world as a new form of expression of your heart's desire and have that supported in the community. And so we had amazing projects from around the world that are having huge effects in people's lives, people's communities. But more importantly, we're activating people's allurement, their natural movement towards what is good and whole and true in them. And when people move in that direction, they're naturally moving in the direction of the whole, right? That which is towards the good, the beautiful, and the true. And so by activating our allurement, it provides the guidance forward where the leadership is not coming from them, but it's coming from the allurement itself, the allurement which began in clouds of gas and dust in the cosmos and began to form stars. And those stars were allured to form planets, and planets were allured to bring forth life. And that life force has an allurement that wants to move forward in particular ways. And each of us is the expression of that way. So it's absolutely amazing. And we find that the community that's being impacted is where these visions and practices take root. And community is the community of the Deeptime Leadership Program, but it's also the larger Earth community and all the communities in which we're embedded in, all the ways that the cosmos finds its way to express itself in these unique particular forms of engagement and interaction. I'm just going to pause it there. Oh, and just to remind people that this training is training people to listen to the Earth as a whole, and to listen to Earth as particular, and to listen to the Earth as a relationality. All the very dimensions of the Earth and cosmos are part of this leadership program. And the next round of it is beginning in September. And we are, calling forth those people who would like to be a part of it. And so I'll post the link to it in the chat. But it's a remarkable training. We're learning something new every day through it, and so grateful to have made this offering at this time. Good. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much, Steve. That was just looking at it, even though we've gone through the experience, it's just so remarkable and such a special program. And just the phrases, activating allurements, listen, just being interactive with Earth, such beautiful things, but more than that, the practice of it. So thank you for conveying that.
You're very welcome, Haseena. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you.
Yeah, thank you, Steve and Marianne. You're already in demand at Co-Creators Convergence. That's being co-created by Noel Marshall and Bob Warner, Barbara Marx Hubbard Legacy Group. You can find more information at www.cocreatorsconvergence.com. I think you need a lot more than just 20 minutes to present, and there it's 90 minutes, so you can elaborate. So welcome. So at this point, maybe I'll ask Orla, who's the Vice President of the Deeptime Network. Orla lives in Sarasota, Florida, with professional ties in India and Ireland. And she says that she's a recovering Cartesian. She has a license as a drug and alcohol counselor, which catalyzed many questions, taking her on a search resulting in an MA in spirituality and spiritual direction and PhD in religious education. Her interests now are to heal our biopsychosocial, spiritual trauma of separation through the fourfold wisdom, conversation of science, women, religion, and indigenous people. She does this as a founding board member and vice president of a Deeptime network, teaching and community renewal projects in India. Orla is currently writing a book about this revolutionary mythopoetic model of education. And I like when she says that it is to empower agency. So it's for the importance for our flourishing future. So Orla, if you can have a, share with us some final comments, please.
Well, I can't share final comments because the conversation isn't over. And we started, many of the people in this room were here this time last year. And look what's happened since last year, the whole program on the network, 9 months, and Tom and Haseena and other people, Viola, I don't have the whole thing in front of me. We're all part of it. And I was just thinking about the variety, trying to describe the difference in the style of education. It's really a different style of attending to these other ways of knowing and coming out of the universe. So I think in something earlier on today, we were talking about becoming impatient, with the current approaches to peace and justice. And I'd have to say that it's very true, because unless we have that sense of interconnection, a sense of being bound together, re legare, which is the fundamental understanding of religion, but we've lost that sense. So then how do we kind of keep ourselves going in the midst? And Thomas Berry then was saying, well, we're in this mess because we don't have a common context. We don't have a common story. And so on the network, like Steve was saying, we have the wisdom of science. And so yesterday, on Wednesday, we had Sarmeet, and he's giving kind of the academic, the very logical approach to where we came from, and the wisdom of science. And then we had Yona, our indigenous colleague, and he presented from the therapeutic, the story of a community that's grounded in a shared story, and that you go to that story for guidance. The stories are told for identification purposes, not particularly information, but identification purposes. That's the wisdom that comes from an indigenous, so people can identify in this story. So we have the story of science, which we're identifying ourselves. We have access to different indigenous stories from ourselves. And then we have the indigenous wisdom. Then we have the wisdom of women, which Annie was wondering kind of specifically what is that? And we can say that women kind of have experiential wisdom stemming from the Cartesian patriarchy that we have around us, plus all of our various different experience because of our bodies, and then experiencing them in the cosmos. And then we had Argery. Now, these are all people, who've taken the course and have kind of coming out of this similar context. Her art making, she started making mandalas. And so she sees the mandala as a representation of cosmogenesis, and invites different subjects that she finds into the design process. It was just a magical revelation of what happens artistically then when people have a common framework then that they can play with themselves. It feels different for everybody, like Josh was saying. It just feels somatically we're all so different. And then Haseena bringing us the discernment process and where we are in the road and where we need to go to for guidance, and Tom's exercise with the call for discernment in whatever subject that we choose to pick up. It teaches us things. And then Marianne giving us a pledge of allegiance for, we're in a cosmic context. What's our pledge of allegiance? We have the Earth Charter, but we also have something also that we've embellished on in the network. So it's a different style of education because we're bringing out the interiority. It's not mechanistic. We're not shaping for a machine to go out and do peace and justice. We're shaping for someone to be responsive and in alignment with cosmogenesis, honoring our emergence. So I just want to thank Haseena and Tex for putting this whole thing together, for the World Unity Week organizers, and for everyone who participated and shared their wisdom and all the work that you're doing out into the community, and just to keep remembering ourselves back. So just a process of remembering our context. So thank you. And I'm so happy.
Thank you. I'm sorry to butt in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to butt in, but they're about to bump us off the
Yeah.
live stream. So
Thank you, Steve,
Okay.
for being our teacher.
Yeah. So